Good evening, everybody. Um, Turbo back with another review session. You'll all be extremely pleased to know that tonight's is extremely short. As you also all will know that today was just a half day, which I don't quite get. Don't think it's something that we do in the UK. You can probably tell that I'm not American. Um, Quite frankly, we don't really understand what Thanksgiving really is, except that I'm mightily jealous that I didn't have a public holiday yesterday. I get that it's giving thanks. I get that bit, and I see it's actually amazing as an outsider seeing all the positivity that Americans are spreading at the moment. Um, Anyways, right, without further ado, I also had an absolutely manic day with work, so I wasn't really able to trade anyway, with it being particularly with it being a half day. Um, on a normal day, I got back from work very not long ago at all. And the markets on a usual Friday would still be open, and there'd still be opportunities if I was able to get up to speed quickly. Anyway, it's closed. Looking forward to Monday, but that's just a quick review on what I did trade. So I traded WORX in pre-market. WORX is a confusing one. There's no news, and it was up nearly 100% at the time. Anyway, it tailed off to 76. We got no idea why. We just think it's in the chat we couldn't work out why. We just think it's a typo. Work had news on Wednesday that they'll be potentially being bought out by Salesforce. So I don't know how you make this error, but particularly because when you look at the volume traded, geez, over 84 million shares traded today, which is a lot. Now, I also get that there are a lot of people. If it is a mistake, that would have just given it the impetus for people like me to try and enter. So the high in the morning was up here. It peaked at 247, I think it was. It's 247-ish. Anyway, it was under 250. Pulled back here nicely, consolidated. So I was quite excited at this point, actually, particularly with potentially new volume coming in at 8 a.m. As you can see, it then spiked. At the time, it was the volume spike and actually the biggest volume candle in pre-market. So I was pretty excited. I entered at 250, bang on 250. After it hit 252, I submitted my buy at 250, had it failed, then went up to 267. Admittedly, like my target was around the 275. I would have evaluated at that point, and would have in pre-market. I'd have been really happy with 25 cents a share. Went in pretty small with this because pre-market is still pretty new to me. It's still pretty volatile, and I'm not 100% comfortable with it. The reason why I'm quite comfortable with this, why I actually played this, because in pre-market, if I ever get the chance to watch it, I'm often just watching. It's just in the background because if your news is on the day, they're just crazy and they just sell through entry points, and then all of a sudden they just pull back and there's a massive red candle. So that's always a fear that it's just going to be a sudden massive dump, and it's just gonna be this huge red candle. So I got out at 256. I was pretty happy with that. Well, I wasn't happy with it. I'm happy that I think I had a good idea, and it somewhat worked. It's not really about the win. I'm just happy that I didn't lose. It's always good not to lose money. Always good. And then this would have been the top watch pretty much all day. Although it died around, what time's this? Yeah, 10:30. 10:30, and then that's pretty much it. Still finished pretty strong, really, considering that up 76%, considering that it's a typo. So this would have been a really good dip and rip if it had made it. So I would have only entered a break of 267, and the reason why I wouldn't try and be aggressive with this one and enter sooner is we were talking about in our chat, we were talking that chat rooms were entering this. So that's always a concern because in my relatively, obviously short time as a newbie, chat often kills a lot of momentum and plays, and we think it's just boredom, or the chat room guy just sells into his followers. I don't know. Anyway, so I would have been pretty strict and entered at only past 268, but I think that would have been a really high percentage play. It would have been good, in my opinion, just because, as we often say as well, the crappier they are, the more shorts. And the more shorts that you have in, the more likely the squeeze is when it does break that high. So as soon as it breaks 70, shorts will be panicking and they'll be covering their position to try and get out for the smallest loss possible. And as they're buying back in, obviously it just sends it sky high. So I think if it did break that, the high of day, we would have easily, I think we would have been looking easily past 350. After that, I just don't know. But in a stock like this, heavily shorted, low flow, lots of volume, 75 cents would have been absolutely awesome. Even 50 cents, even 25, because it's probably a high percentage play once it does break that hard. The other thing we talk about is the Ivan Drago. If it dies, it dies. It died. Oh well, we move on to the next one. We don't particularly. That's the beauty of it. You just don't really sleep, and you just look for the next one. So all the EVs were really buoyant when I left. They're not buoyant at the moment. That really sucks that Solo closed red. Closed red. That kind of sucks because I was really hoping that EVs were about to go on another run. And maybe they still will. So at the time of leaving, my plan with Solo was, we talked about this. So again, it's just a dip and rip really. Sets a high, drops back down, pulls back slightly, pulls back towards red, and then we're looking for it to break up and break past this green line, basically past 925, which was yesterday's highs, and then we would have been off to the races. There'd be a 925 entry, probably would have risked on 9 or like 890 with a view to it, like with a goal of 10. But yeah, it didn't. So was the other idea that I was toying with Solo, and I don't know, some people might have had this idea, some people might have played it, some people may have made it work, was as it pulled back to try and get in on this dip, expecting it to bounce back. Obviously my sample size is extremely small, but that strategy with these two plays would not have worked. Again, so like similar to WORX, we're waiting for it to break that target point that we've got before entering, which I always think with stocks, like with trading, it's just a weird concept in my opinion, because it's not weird, it's just something to get your head around, that our whole lives we are taught to look for bargains, buy cheap, whether it's groceries or whether it's clothing, whatever. Whereas with trading, actually we're looking to buy high, sell higher, and actually that's where we get our strong percentage plays from. Be interesting to see whether I'll have to have a look another time to see if actually any of the EV plays did touch the close line and then bounce back. The other one I was looking at was FCEL. It didn't really move a lot in the end, but actually it's nice to see it so buoyant. That's quite good for potential future plays next week, and it's only actually $1 off its highs if it does continue with the pull some momentum in. What would I've done here? I'm not really sure. It didn't really pull back, so it pulled back here. So then I might have taken it at 10. So that would have been the play to the 10 breakout, because it looks like it just fell short of 10 of these candles. Hit 10, yeah, hit 10. So that's what we would have been looking for, that break of 10. So 10.01 plus, as close to 10 as possible, and then we would have been looking for it to rip up. FCEL's quite a slow mover. But I think how I would have ended up playing this is entering near 10, it hitting 10.24, starting to pull back. I'd probably start thinking this isn't going to work. And then I'd probably end up selling for like 5-10 cents a share. And again, it seems like a bit of a failed move. But again, with the momentum stalling in solo, etc., and this isn't an EV, but it's somewhat linked, loosely linked, really loosely linked. But it seems to move with EVs at least anyway. So that would have been slightly disappointing. I suppose there would have been justification to give it longer because FCEL tends to be a slow mover, tends to rise, pull back, and then continue. So actually, I'm quite glad that I wasn't here for this one, because the other thing is, would have talked myself into giving this trade more time. And I guess the other thing to think of is that, particularly when you're retrospectively, when you're looking back in hindsight and running through plays, I've got to try and think actually how I'd do it at the time, and I could never be 100% sure of that. But I would have looked for the 10 breakout, definitely would have seen it pulling back, and I might have just think get out, green is green, and if it pulls back past 10, I could re-enter if it then pushes through 10 again. It didn't and that's probably the best way to play it. Or you just wait for it to pull back and then break hot again. I'm not sure. That's certainly something that I have to think about. I'm going to have a flick through a lot of these charts over the weekend, see what's happening ahead of Monday. Something that I'm certainly looking to do, and something we talk about quite a lot, are the OTCs. I haven't actually traded an OTC yet. I did actually try and trade TSNP on Wednesday when it was I think I was going for a hard break of 4 cents or something. And that was gutting, because I actually didn't know that I couldn't trade OTCs on either of my brokers. Anyway, you live and learn. Now I know. Frustrating, because that would have been a good play. It would have been a good play on Wednesday. Not that I would have held till now. Thought of holding these overnight at the moment scares the absolute crap out of me, because I've just seen some of them at the open just die. But then some, like TSNP yesterday, I keep saying yesterday, Wednesday. You think of it like it gapped down. Yeah, so it nosedived and then bang straight back, and then just throughout the day. So I was looking to buy around this point, what's that for? Just 4.5 cents. Whether I would have been I don't know how patient I would have been with this. I probably would have been panicking actually as it starts dropping, because it actually closed pretty weak and then gapped up, and then just never looked back. Just absolutely never looked back. And yeah, that's crazy. So I certainly feel like not being able to trade OTCs and not knowing how to trade OTCs is a real chink in my potential armor. At the same time, I'm not overly concerned with not being able to do it today or Wednesday. It's just that, in a month's time or 2 months' time, whenever, when plays like this come up, I'd just like to have that option and to know it well. And it may be, OTCs may not work for me, but I just feel it's something that I need to find out. And again, it's something that just a lot of people talk about, and the more people talk about tickers, obviously the more attention they've got. And I think that's another thing that's quite important, particularly from obviously not being American. Like, I don't know any of these companies. To be fair, I don't know if any Americans really know of Tesoro Enterprises. But it's important that people are always bringing, obviously, other than the scanners that I've got, I need to have good scanners to make sure that I pull up these plays. but it does help in chat. One of the best things about chat is that people are always talking ideas. What about this ticker? What about this ticker? And that's great because it just draws your gaze to it. And even if you're not planning to trade it, it might not fit your pattern, but you can just see what other people are doing, what other people are thinking. And that's been, to be honest, that's been one of the best things about STT Pro. For me, it's just the chat is extremely supportive. We just clap each other. We joke about slapping each other when we do something stupid. Looking at you, Lucio, if you do watch, I promise my slap would really hurt you. Anyway, I try not to sound intimidating already. So I'm hoping you can join me on Monday. Cool. Yeah, that wraps it up. Chat's great. Hopefully everyone who did trade today managed to kill it. Looking back, I'm not particularly gutted that I missed out. I had a lot of fun working with my normal job, so I'm not particularly gutted that I missed anything. I'd have been gutted if like WORX ripped past 267 and just didn't look back and just did some stupid short squeeze and just kept going and going and going. But it didn't, and it looks like a lot of the EVs just faded. At the same time, some optimism for FCEL, and I think a few people were overnight in BLNK. So we said that BLNK was a swing idea this morning if it held above VWAP, and it just did. So hopefully BLNK gaps up in the morning, and then the bull run continues. Well, anyway, I said I want to keep these short and sharp. Let everyone have a great weekend. Like I said, these are mainly for me to talk through ideas. I'm really enjoying it, and I highly recommend if anyone does watch this to do it. But if anyone does, comment, whatever, really appreciate it. I'm really enjoying it, so I'm going to keep going. And back again on Monday. I'm hoping to be joined. I just meant to touch on it. I'm hoping to be joined by Lucio. He watched Wednesday's video and then has some ideas. And I think it's just like some slight tweaks, perhaps being more aggressive with some entries. So we'll just see what he has to say. Cool. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you later.